playing in the World Cup qualifier against Australia here at Mount Smart Stadium 4 years ago. And Roger Gray and Mike McGarry didn't play, but McGarry has had a stint at Sydney Olympic. There is a notable omission, of course, with Winton Rufer still in Germany chasing a championship title. 7 overseas-based players start today's game for Australia. It's a special day in particular for Mark Bosnich and Dominic Longo, who make their international debuts. Robbie Slater starts his first A international after having made his debut with a B team in 1984 against Glasgow Rangers. Only 2 survivors from the 89 side, captain Paul Wade and striker Graham Arnold. That's the scene here at Mount Smart. Quite cool, showers expected. Either way, this is the moment of truth. The scars of 89 have not been healed, and this is the time for those to be wiped away. The Socceroos will be running from the left to the right-hand side of our screen, with Graham Arnold, the front man today. Farina, he'll be on the right side of that midfield. Slater on the left. You'd have to say there are some surprises in the team selection, with Aurelio Vidmar on the bench and Milan Blagojevic right out of contention. He didn't even make the bench at all. That's the team Eddie Thompson has stuck by. They've been calling it the dream team. Values of between 10 to 15 million, and already Robbie Slater on the left-hand side. He looks up for support. The ball too deep. But either way, that's a promising sign for Australia. A good start to the game, and important to get those first touches right. A lot have been said in the media during the week. A war of words, you could say. They expect a physical confrontation from New Zealand. They've had good preparation, the All Whites. They've just come out of a 2-match series against Fiji, and before that they played 2 matches against the Saudis. This is the first real hit out for the Socceroos. They played a Victorian select side before they left for Auckland, as Branko Milosevic, the man who was promoted into this team, he goes down. Fred de Jong argues. Danny Halligan has been spoken to by the referee, Bo Carlson. And will that be a sign of things to come? I wonder, Paul Trimboli.
Well, Andy, I think early on it's going to be very physical. Both teams are pretty keyed up. I think it's a pretty important game, as everyone realises. I don't think those sort of tackles is too much in. I think everyone's just keen to get to the ball first, and there's going to be a few missed time runs early on.
What's the feeling like in the camp? You were here in 89. What's the difference?
Well, to be honest, Andy, I mean, 89 was 4 years ago, and it's a forgotten sort of thing at this stage. We've got a totally new team now, and we've got different priorities, and we're aiming for the 94 World Cup. So what happened back then, you sort of got to put out of your mind, and it's a new day, a new game. And the boys are quietly confident. I think you have to be at this level, and it should be a good game.
And Billy Wright cutting out the run there from Mehmet Jurakovic, and we know what sort of character Billy Wright is. He always saves his best for matches against Australia. New Zealand with such an imposing record in World Cup football in their country in 15 matches. They've won 10, they've drawn 4, and they've only lost the 1 when they qualified for the World Cup in 82. They lost at home to Kuwait. Ned Zelic, talks of interest from Torino and Roma in Italy. To Dominic Longo, voted one of the best 10 players in Belgium. He missed all bar 2 matches there. Fred de Jong has pulled up for a foul this time. And what a revelation Dominic Longo has been the last 2 years in Australian football at both Olympic level and now senior Socceroo level. Just over 3 minutes into this game. Already 2 fouls committed by the Kiwis as Milosevic's ball inside. And it was well cut out by Gray, and Billy Wright's back there to help his defence, and the captain Dunford just clearing it out of danger, taking the pressure off. Dunford, of course, scored the first goal against the Socceroos in 89, a header. Arnold back for Jurakovic. That's a lovely ball inside, too deep for Slater. Van Blerk waiting for support. Slater's back there now. Wade, a searching ball for Farina. It might be too long. It is. Frank Farina, the last of the overseas-based players to arrive here in Auckland. Well, I should say in Melbourne, prior to the departure for Auckland. Clint Gosling made his debut for New Zealand back in '78. Ironside. And I could hear Billy Wright screaming at the referee, pushing off the ball. There'll be a lot of heated exchanges out in the middle. There's no doubts about that. And what a period in the life of footballer Mark Bosnich. From the World Youth Championships of '91, back home to Australia, then to England and Aston Villa. Jurakovic, the ball was still in. The linesman, per Olaf's style, it really looked like it was out. But now De Jong has shaken his man in Tobin, and his shot wasn't a bad one at all. And that's certainly an ominous sign. 5 minutes into the game. It really came from nothing. Fred De Jong broke away from the Australian defence, and he almost caught Bosnich out.
Yeah, Andy, Fred De Jong, great use of the body there. He got goal side of Alex Tobin and prevented Alex from getting a challenge, and then spotted Bosnich well off his line, and I tell you what, it wasn't far away.
And again, Dunford away, cut out by Van Blerk. Touched on by Redenton. And down goes another Australian, that was Van Blerk. Now Halligan across to Riley. Wade's in there now, Arnold. The all-weight defence is well formed at this stage. Jurakovic. Milosevic has come over to support Arnold. And the ball goes straight to De Jong. He looks up. Way too strong for McGarry. Mike McGarry, he'd be fairly familiar to most Australian followers after having played with Sydney Olympic in the National League. And the National League here, unfortunately, in New Zealand, has fallen apart, and it's been broken now down to 3 10-division regional competitions after a National League that was in existence for 20 years. And here's Farina. And that was nicely done by Kerry Evans. But Farina, that's a good run down that right side, good for the confidence. Ian Marshall, the New Zealand coach, a Scotsman like the Australian counterpart, Eddie Thompson. And he came out here to play for Christchurch Technical for 2 seasons and started coaching once he finished playing. Jason Van Blerk. And Arnold. He climbed well. The ball was always going to be a tough one for him to connect, but we know the danger of Graham Arnold in the air. The leading scorer for the Socceroos.
Yeah, Arnie's going to be a danger in the air. I think we've worked quite a lot on the set pieces, and although we've got to watch them at set pieces, I think they're going to be worried about us as well. We've got some power in the air with the likes of Paul Wade and Graham Arnold, and even Alex Tobin coming forward.
Ironside with a very forceful header. Jurakovic is clearing it away. Just a noticeable point that perhaps we expected Farina to come down the right-hand side, has been operating in the middle a bit more than usual. So, not even 10 minutes into this game. No score yet. Best opportunity falling to Fred De Jong. Arnold finds his man in Wade. Farina. Looking for Slater. Redenton chasing. This looks fairly promising. Slater cuts back and shoots. And Gosling well positioned. And again, there's the danger of Robbie Slater. That was a good counter-attack.
I think that's where we could cause them a lot of problems with Robbie Slater and Frank Farina, their ability to run at players. I think that'll cause the New Zealand defence a lot of problems, and hopefully we can get Arnie into the middle and put a couple away.
Van Blurk now across for Alex Tobin. And now Dominic Longo, the first Tasmanian to play senior international for the Socceroos. Slater, who was also a spectator here 4 years ago. Jurakovic. And Billy Wright, he's really been playing more a defensive role than an offensive role that we might have expected as well. Milosevic. And Tobin across for Dominic Longo. He's looking for the runner. And it's skewed wide. And Gosling. His 65th appearance for his country, and that's again another huge clearance. Longo's under it. The right went for it, now Ironside. And dangerous play, the rule. And Bo Carlson ran across quickly. Maybe a touch-and-go decision, I thought, although Longo wouldn't have known it. Any player was behind him. But Gary and Riley, the set piece, the danger for Australia. They've been practicing this. And it comes from Riley. And there's numbers up there, but a bit of pushing spotted by the referee. Graham Arnold wasn't impressed, but the quickly taken free kick, the referee wants it taken from the correct position. Again, it's with Longo. Now Farina's come back. He's going long for Jurakovic down that flank. Kerry Evans away. Played with Oxford United, and actually he studied there as well. A Rhodes Scholar, and he studied at Oxford University. Claims of handball by Jurakovic. Back with Farina. They certainly have the numbers back there at the moment, New Zealand. Well, that looks like it might be given as a free kick against Jurakovic. On right.
It's interesting, Andy, to notice Billy Wright. He seems to be playing a lot deeper than he does back in the National League with Morwell. At Morwell, he tends to be further forward, whereas today he seems to be leaving Fred de Jong in that area, and he seems to be doing a lot more legwork.
Paul Wade so close to that record. Peter Wilson, the most capped Socceroo with 64 matches under his belt, and Wade today, 60th appearance. Arnold trying to slide it through for Wade.
If you notice, Andy, when you see the close-ups of the players' jerseys, you can see the wind's really having an effect out there. We noticed at training, we trained here at the stadium a couple of days ago, and you could tell that it was difficult. It was very blustery, the wind. And I think that could be causing a few problems for both teams at this stage. It seems to blow 1 minute and then the next it's died down, and just when you think it's going away, it comes up again strong. So that could take a while to get used to.
And that was Redenton by the looks of things coming up from the back. And Redenton playing with Papatoe, that side coached by a former New Zealand international Ricky Herbert, who had a few good wishes for the Socceroos before the game, and of course Kevin Hagan, who was a visitor to the team hotel. Slater on. Away by the policeman Roger Gray. Ironside. Getting away from Durakovic, who was held back. That could be dangerous for Mehmet because he was pulled up for a foul earlier. Gary. It'll be an easy one for Bosnich. And he looks for the quick release, and it's on for Slater. Slater. Inside from Milosevic. Slater went down. There was no advantage, and the referee, that's why he's pulled up play. The fans don't agree with it.
That was a good decision by the referee there. He had a quick look to see whether Australia would have any advantage from the play, but we didn't, so he blew for the free kick, which was the right decision.
15 minutes into this game, still no score at Mount Smart Stadium. Slater ran straight into Danny Halligan. The Brisbane United midfielder loses out to Farina. Slater wants it. He's onside. Farina at the near post. Arnold at the back. And it'll be a corner.
It was a good opportunity there for Australia. Well won by Farina. Caught New Zealand out at the back. Got Slater into a good position wide, but unfortunately he didn't get it past the first man. It's very important to get the cross past the first man.
There's been a couple of times where Farina has looked very dangerous around that box. And I think as the game goes on, Australia's performance will improve greatly. Was that in? No. The linesman stood his ground and headed away off the line. And what a lucky escape for New Zealand.
Yeah, actually, I think it was Robert Ironside who got the final touch there.
And Redenton, I think, was the man on the line. But either way, an escape for New Zealand.
Always difficult to defend against the near post corner if it's struck with pace. Even the defending player can be the one flicking it on.
Up was Longo, De Jong inside. Cleared by Zelic. Evans away. Longo. Wade will have to climb with Ironside. Ironside so dominant in the air. And no one's even bothering to challenge him this time. Van Blerk in. And again, feet up, dangerous play, the ruling.
Yeah, the boys, the overseas-based boys were saying that the referees in Europe are red hot. Anytime the foot's raised in a challenge, then it's a free kick straight away.
Bosnich comes and plays it safe. Intelligent keeping. They really get the numbers at that back post. Mark Bosnich, never one to be short of a word. Farina. Halligan just touching it on. The linesman says onside. Wade looks for Slater. Slater trying to get it inside for Milosevic. Redenton away. And there was Tobin.
New Zealand are causing problems when the ball's played into the box, into the front area in the air. They're very strong in the air, and when people challenge for the ball, you never know quite where it's going to land, and it's hard to defend against that.
They're certainly not lacking in height, are they?
No. Because even if they don't mean to hit it where it goes, it still goes there, and it's hard to, for defenders to sort of judge where the ball's going to land.
And Van Blerk's done well. He's won the throw for Australia. Van Blerk was one of a number, actually, of the overseas-based players plagued by injuries. He'd broken a bone in his foot midway through his stint. Farina got in there. Farina, still Farina. He goes down. The referee waves play on. And Frank is certainly looking sharp today. This time the flag's up for offside, but that's the third time Farina has almost broken away. He's been unselfish the first two times laying off, but certainly looking good.
Yeah, I think New Zealand are going to have to keep a close eye on him. He's looking very sharp, although he's pulled up a bit properly after that last challenge. I think he may have just turned an ankle slightly.
Pressure ball, Riley did well there.
Redetton back now, McGarry. To Young and Halligan. And that came off big Dominic Longo.
Yes, Frank Farina appears to be struggling a little bit. He's limping quite noticeably after that last challenge, and hopefully he can run that off. That'd be bad news for Australia.
So a corner kick, and it's bad news for Australia now. They'll have to pick up these big men. Arnold will come back to help out. In fact, all the Socceroos are in that penalty area now. Chris Riley, who had a stint at Adelaide City, his corner wasn't the best, and that was Farina, and he's still limping, and he's signalled to the bench. Farina is in a spot of bother.
Yes, he doesn't look too good, Frank Farina. I'm not sure. I think he might just want to get some treatment there, but he's waiting for a break in the play.
Jurakovic. And Arnold was taken out late by Roger Gray. And some of these challenges just maybe a bit surprising. A booking hasn't eventuated just yet.
Well, if Frank Farina wasn't hurt before, he could well be now after the referees just topped him there. Could be a complaint put into FIFA there.
Seriously though, Paul...
no, Frank's not looking too good at all, actually.
Disaster.
That would be a big blow for Australia. Frank was looking very sharp. He got in a couple of times behind the defence. Hopefully it'll just be a quick look from the physio and a bit of the old magic spray, Andy, and he'll be able to continue.
Well, Carl Viet and Aurelio Vidmar warm up as this free kick is about to be taken by Branko Milosevic. I'll be looking for Wade, and such a forceful header from Roger Gray.
I think it's going to be one of those games, Andy, where the referee's blowing his whistle quite often. There's a lot of body contact, players going in for the ball hard, a lot of aerial challenges.
And from what it appears there, I wonder whether Farina will continue in the game. Zelic, good safety play. Australia with 10 men at the moment. Flags up for offside against De Jong.
It was really just for offside, so pressure relief for Australia.
Aurelio Vidmar, we really expected him perhaps to start the game, but he was in doubt with those ankle injuries, but he's obviously fit enough to have some sort of contribution today. There's certainly plenty of depth on the benches.
Yes, the bench depth could come into play, especially with a physical game like we're seeing at the moment. People are bound to pick up knocks, and it's good to have this type of players to be able to bring on in case something goes wrong.
The Kerry Evans free kick. He's looking for Dunford.
Probably look to play long into the Australian penalty area.
Wade just clearing it away. Flags up again.
scored 2 occasions there. Coming back, you do have to stay alert. That front position.
Midway through this first half at Mount Smart Stadium in Auckland. Return leg next week at Olympic Park in Melbourne. The winner will go on to play Canada. Just some mistakes have crept into the Aussie play the last 10 minutes or so. Distribution from the back hasn't been as good as one would have expected. Dunford deflected off Jurakovic. That was certainly a great clearance, but now Dunford, and a real shot indeed. And maybe Dunford should have just kept on going from that spot there.
Yeah, Andy, he appeared to be in a great position to advance onto Mark Bosnich further than he did, but obviously he backed himself, and he struck it quite well, and it was just wide of the post. But Australia got caught dwelling on the ball. Dominic Longo, he had plenty of time to clear it, tried to run the ball out from the back, and the New Zealand tackling's fierce at the moment, and you're not getting too much time on the ball. That's a very dangerous area to be caught with the ball. We nearly got punished there.
As I said earlier, scored the opening goal in that game in 1989, and went very close to getting New Zealand a similar position.
The good news though, Farina back on the pitch. De Jong and Van Blerk. And yet another free kick.
Andy, we have to be very careful giving away free kicks in this area of the field. It's something New Zealand are well known for, their strength set pieces and in the air, and you can't afford to give away silly free kicks.
They're certainly up there. Dunford, Evans, Gray, Ironside. And they'll stay there again for the corner.
Farina still appears to be favouring that leg. Looks to be the ankle.
Bosnich comes again. Good fist away. Redenton. They're onside, but that was just a wayward push forward. And Mark Bosnich. Well, you can't miss him if you're out on the pitch. Mark Bosnich is such a dominant figure. And that's probably what he's arguing about.
Oh, there's a little bit
Terry Evans.
That's where he's smiling at, Chris. You can see the arm that actually delivered it. I think it's pretty harmless, actually. Bosnich just comes to the ball, and Terry Evans has just caught him a little bit, and after the ball's cleared, it's just a tangle away, so there's nothing there at all.
And it looks like Farina will be coming off. Carl Veart, I think, will come on. I just noticed that Les Scheinflug has picked up one of the substitution boards, and the fourth official has got that, and it looks like it will be, sadly, a change with Farina more than likely to come off. Milosevic, Van Blerk. Slater's running through that middle. Van Blerk, Slater. The referee waves play on again. Zelic. Longo. And now Jurakovic.
That's the feeling down the sideline for Ricky Herbert. This is Dominic Longo.
Ironside. There's a break. McGarry. Van Blerk's chasing him down. And that's a good, solid challenge. And intelligent play in the end from Van Blerk. The change will be made. Carl Veart is the first man to come on from the bench. And what a sad day for Frank Farina. He scored an equalising goal against New Zealand to send Australia to the Olympic Games. And after he made that run, that great break, and he was involved in that challenge, he hasn't been able to recover. And what effect that'll have on the game, it's hard to say. But Carl Veart, we've got to pay credit where it's due. 6 internationals, 4 goals for Australia.
Yes, Carl's definitely got the score on the board so far. He very dangerous player. He's similar to Frank in that he's got a great ability to run at players. And at the moment, I think we've got to stretch the New Zealanders a lot more than we are.
Michael McGarry and Billy White have obviously got the job to go up and support. I think it needs Denny Culligan, especially, to try to get on the ball to get a couple of quality passes.
At the moment,
sorry.
At the moment, Andy, the game it's too congested. I think we're playing right into New Zealand's hands. They're very comfortable just knocking the ball along and challenging and picking up the scraps. Whereas we look good when we knock the ball around and we get some movement off the ball and stretch the defence. As long as we try to play it in that middle corridor, I think we're going to be under pressure.
That was a good build-up, particularly Arnold's perseverance, getting the ball back for his captain, Wade. He was always going to have a tough time getting over that one. That's a better sign for the Socceroos.
Yeah, they're hard to strike those ones in that position. As a forward, I know, Andy, they might look easy, but trying to get the foot over the ball is a hard thing to do, especially under pressure.
15 minutes left in this first half. No goals, a couple of chances. 2 shots, firstly from De Jong and then from Dunford for New Zealand. And then there was a header cleared off the line. Viet goes inside of Gray. And Viet's not the sort of man who will hold back in the one-on-one challenges. De Jong. Missed by McGarry, but not by Halligan. Cut out by Van Blerk. And Zelic will come back to cover for Australia.
Yes, Carl Viet's a very direct player, Andy, especially through the middle. He loves to take players on, as he just did then, and he wasn't far off getting around that boy. Then it was just a great tackle that denied him there.
Stand up, get goal side. Hey, he's backing in, look, stand up.
De Jong, 2 seasons with Fortuna Sittard, where his club has really battled more to stave off relegation. Halligan will take yet another free kick, no, or McGarry or Riley. McGarry it appears to be. Mike McGarry, who's a player coach in one of the regional competitions over here. De Jong, just a touch over. Zelic on Slater. Predenton, no trouble at all. He's onside, McGarry. McGarry inside. Jurakovic tried to get it away at the back post. The chance was perhaps there for Ironside. It was always going to be a tough task.
Yes, Andy, we've been caught out. That's maybe the second or third time in that left-back position. The ball through to McGarry, and he played a delightful ball across the box there. And it wasn't too far away. It only needed a final touch. I think Mehmet Jurakovic missing the ball actually put Robert Ironside off there.
And there was Ironside again. Arnold always running, always chasing. Ball still in play. Wade's over there. And it didn't go out, and it's still in. And Kerry Evans, he has the last laugh. Although his pass was well and truly astray.
Yes, Paul Wade was unfortunate there. He was trying to let the ball run either for a corner or a goal, a throw-in. And as we all know, if the ball strikes the corner flag and stays in, it's play on. And he was a little unlucky there.
Zelic across to his former Olympic Games teammate. There's 4 of them out there. Viet, Zelic, Longo and Bosnich. Up went Van Blerk. Riley. Halligan. The touch was a good one for Redenton. De Jong up, and there was holding on.
Again, Andy, they're getting in down that right wing, and they're knocking some good balls into the box, and Fred de Jong's very strong in the air. I think we're going to have to watch that left-hand side defensively. We don't appear to be holding the ball enough, and one thing in soccer is very important is confidence of the players, and you have to have the ball and get a lot of touches to get your confidence up. Once the ball's in dispute a lot and it's up in the air, people challenging for headers, you don't get too many touches, and so then obviously when you get it, you sort of, you're a bit apprehensive as to what to do with it. I think we need to get a hold of the ball and just keep it for a couple of minutes.
The most noticeable thing with the New Zealand team is the unity that they have. They just gel so well together. Riley across to Redenton. McGarry down the line for Halligan. McGarry takes off again. And big Alex Tobin, the Adelaide City captain, with a vital clearance away. Australia have been under some pressure in this first half. They've stood the test so far, but there's plenty of work to be done. Arnold. Wade's in there. See, that's a good decision. He allowed the advantage there. Wade was caught off balance as he evaded that late challenge. Zelic. Haven't seen made any of those runs that we've come to expect, but with so many offensive players in this team, there hasn't really been a need, although you would expect sooner or later Zelic will. Jurakovic. That's out of play.
Yes, I think Australia has to get Ned Zelic more involved. Obviously, it's beneficial to have him bringing the ball out from the back rather than Dominic Longo or Alex Tobin. Ned Zelic is far more accomplished on the ball, no offence to the other players. Although, obviously, New Zealand know that as well, and at the moment they're congesting the game. You can notice now it's just so tight in that middle of the park. There's just about every player in that one area, and that's making it very difficult to play too many passes. And with the blustery conditions, that affects the long ball game as well for us, because obviously trying to knock it into space for the players is difficult as well. New Zealand are playing it quite well at the moment, Andy.
Very well. There's certainly been some stoppages in the game. It hasn't been a free-flowing one. Not that you would have expected an open brand of football between two teams that have such a history.
Yes, there certainly isn't too much time to dwell on the ball at the moment. A lot of players closing down quickly, which always results in challenges and a lot of free kicks.
Riley for Evans. And again, the set piece.
Well, they're getting closer, Andy. They obviously worked a lot on these set pieces, and they know exactly what they're doing. That was a great ball into the space there behind the defence. And a bit lower, and it might have tested Mark Bosnich.
Kerry Evans. One of a number of men who get up for those free kicks and corners. Bosnich comes, and he was almost taken out by Alex Tobin. The Aston Villa keeper again goes for the long clearance. Viet and Gray. Gray this time. De Jong. The clever overhead for Halligan. And McGarry's caught offside.
At the moment, Andy, New Zealand appear to be using the space on the flanks a lot better than Australia. You notice a lot of the Australian midfield players are all congesting in the middle of the park, and therefore when their markers pick them up, it ends up being 8 to 10 players all in the same around that centre circle. It doesn't leave a lot of space. I think we've got to try to push wider and get people like Robbie Slater involved a bit wider, and maybe Jason Van Blerk pushing forward. But New Zealand have definitely got Australia under pressure at the moment. I think their confidence is definitely up. They've had several opportunities in that penalty area.
Behind his carry, behind his carry.
And a corner for Australia. Dunford gets back to organise his defence. We'll keep close tabs on Arnold. Van Blerk's in-swinging corner. It's Australia's turn, and we'll remember back to that 16th minute when the corner on the other side almost resulted in an Australian goal. Milosevic. And it comes. Jurakovic forward. Up went Evans. Then Redenton. Billy Wright. De Jong's free. He's onside as well. Longo comes across to cut him out. And straight into the body of Dominic Longo. And De Jong will be very disappointed with that.
Yes, it wasn't the greatest final ball in the world, but again, a bit of confusion in the Australian backline then. I think Mehmet Jurakovic tried to push up for off. Actually, the others pushed up and Mehmet stayed, and one tried to play offside, one didn't. Therefore, De Jong was in on the left-hand side, and he'll be disappointed that he didn't get that ball across then, because that was another great move by New Zealand.
The McGarry corner. They're all waiting for it. Evans. Back for Halligan. Straight into Arnold. An Australian throw-in. It's been very hard for Australia. This is the first game together. It's all right to play Victorian selection sides and the second 11, the Aussie 11 that have been in camp, but it's a different ball game. These New Zealanders have been together for such a long time. They've already had the benefit of a tour to the UK, and it's certainly showing, isn't it?
There was a late tackle there by Fred de Jong on Ned Zelich. Surprisingly not picked up. The linesman was right on top of it, but he didn't see it.
Viet and Dunford straight into the body of Evans as Wade was coming inside. Zelich, or at least he's not hobbling. They couldn't afford to lose a second player through injury. There's just under 5 minutes of normal time left.
A good point you brought up, Andy, was the fact that we haven't played a lot of games together, and I think it doesn't matter how good the quality of players are. It's the movement amongst the players and knowing each other and where they're going to move that really makes the difference.
And it comes by Van Blerk. Tobin across the face of goal. Riley. There were some claims of handball, but it certainly wouldn't have been intentional.
It's knowing where your teammates are going to be. When you're under pressure and you haven't got too much time to see what's happening, it's knowing instinctively where certain people are making moves, and when a game's as close as this and the pressure's on, it can be split seconds and timing that either make the move work or they don't. And at the moment, New Zealand have got that timing down a lot better. Australia seem to be waiting for the player on the ball to see what he's going to do before they react, and with the pressure being applied by New Zealand, you can't do that.
So Danny Halligan goes back to pick up on Robbie Slater. And Arnold gets taken out by Dunford, who's been on his back all day. They're the two players they've really isolated, Arnold and Slater.
All the New Zealanders are back. They obviously respect Australia's power in the air.
Milosevic. Not enough height at all. Branko Milosevic, who had said he'd finished up with the Socceroos after the Sweden series last year. That's some return to international football.
Yes, at the moment it's turning into the battle of the set pieces, Andy, with New Zealand creating a couple more on the break as well. So at the moment, Australia have done well to hold them out.
They've done well to hold them out. It's been really New Zealand who've certainly appeared to have strung together the better plays, the better set pieces, and the better understanding, which is the most critical thing in this type of football, I would think.
Australia started well, then for some reason New Zealand got on top, and Australia have been forced to defend, although the last couple of minutes now we've got back into the game.
Arnold's on, Gosling comes. As Wade and Slater were looming, Gosling always seems to save these best matches for the Socceroos. He's been around in international football now for 15 years. This would be just really like another ball game for him now.
Yes, he's very experienced. He's played in the Australian National League, so obviously he knows the players on the Australian team quite well. He's played a lot for New Zealand.
And we're just approaching the end of first half. Stalemate, no goals at all. Very, very dour struggle, you could say, in some instances. Inside. Jurakovic and Wade now. Longo. Bosnich will take that in quite comfortably.
I think Mark Bosnich was lucky there because it appeared that Mehmet Jurakovic actually knocked the ball back towards his own keeper.
Yes, the back pass rule.
The New Zealanders appealed, but the referee obviously had made up his mind that there was nothing in it.
Here's the challenge coming through here. There's the ball played back.
There's the replay of that incident.
Clearly there by Australia.
Yeah, it definitely was Mehmet Jurakovic.
I'm surprised that that decision they were allowed to get away with.
Playing stoppages at the moment. Jurakovic. Longo across to Tobin. Van Blurk's making a run down that left side. There's no chance of Arnold getting there. And again, Danny Halligan with the right sort of challenge. Redenton. He looks long for De Jong. De Jong. He's been dangerous every time he's been in possession, De Jong.
Yeah, he's playing very well for De Jong.
Ironside. And once they get possession and break away quickly, the midfield is always there in support. The Aussies are always backpedaling.
Fred de Jong's a very awkward man to mark because he's a big man, good in the air, but he also has a not bad touch, and at the moment he's using his body excellently against Dominic Longo, and he's feeding off some nice balls to the wings.
Arnold. He hasn't had a strike on goal as yet because the supply just hasn't been there. And that is, in fact, the end of the first half. And how have you seen it, Paul?
Well, I think pleasing Australian start to the game. Then we created a couple of openings early on. We had the, I think it was the back header from Robert Ironside, actually.
As Carl Viet takes it forward. And yes, why not trying your luck from that range, just to test out Gosling?
Yes, we saw Fred de Jong in the first half hit a speculative shot from outside the box, and in this swirling conditions, it's not a bad tactic. Goalkeepers these days tend to be positioned a lot further forward than they used to be, Andy, especially with the no back pass rule. They're acting as sweepers almost, so a lot of the time the chance is on to beat them from long range.
Paul, I know that a lot has been said the Dream Team tag is the one that Eddie Thompson doesn't really like, and we're expecting so much from this side. But the reality is it's World Cup football. It's a different game, and maybe we shouldn't really expect too much. And a 0-0 result, if it stays like this, is a good one for Australia.
Of course, you have to look at it realistically, and New Zealand were never going to lay down and let us walk all over them. And this is their home game, so at the moment, with the score at 0-0, it's Australia's in the better position. I mean, New Zealand really are the ones who, unless they're banking on winning away from home, which not too many teams do, they're the ones who are going to have to force the pace in this second half.
Psychologically, Ian Marshall was saying that the underdog tag rests very comfortably with the All Whites. We mustn't forget that some of our overseas-based players did have some injuries in their respective competitions in Europe. Yes. Some of them recovering. Ned Zelic, of course, with a hamstring. Vidmar on the bench because of the ankle problems he had. And Zelic, that was there was no need really for De Jong to go at the ball when the referee had blown the whistle. Well, that's how it is when New Zealand and Australia play each other in this level of football. Jurakovic, Viet. Good turn by Carl Viet. He can't get past Kerry Evans. Now De Jong always looking for that midfield support. It came in Ironside. And Longo. And that's great pressure from De Jong and Ironside. The Gary evading. Van Blurk still gets the crosshead. Away by Milosevic. Halligan into that box. Longo under it. And again, the touch from Milosevic. And there was Longo again, just taking that pressure away. And again, Longo. Up was Riley. Halligan.
New Zealand have started the second half like they played midway through the first half. They're winning a lot of the challenges in the centre of the park. They seem to be picking up on the loose ball. Any sort of hesitancy shown by the Australians, they're capitalising on. Fred de Jong again catching Dominic Longo dwelling on the ball. But I think the longer the game goes, as long as Australia can keep them out, Eddie Thompson won't be too displeased. Obviously, having not played as many games together as the New Zealanders, it's going to take Australia a while to gel together. And you can play as many practice games as you like, but you have to gel together in World Cup games to know what the atmosphere and the pressure is like. So 0-0 at this stage isn't too much to be worried about, as long as we keep our shape.
And at the back post, that danger man, Billy Wright, had a pretty good season with Ball Falcons. He scored 9 goals in the Coca-Cola Soccer League.
New Zealand are definitely making better use of the flanks than Australia are, and that was one area where Australia was supposed to exploit them. So New Zealand's obviously done their homework, and McGarry on the right here is causing a lot of problems. He's limiting Van Vleug's influence going forward, and he's also causing a lot of headaches defensively.
Crowd figure through just under 11,000 here in Auckland. And right away, it's over across. Longo finds Ned Zelic. Noticeable that only 2 of the substitutes for Australia were warming up during the half-time break, Aurelio Vidmar and Jason Polak. One by Redenton and Milosevic.
I think it's not a bad idea, Andy, just to keep the ball for a couple of minutes. Let the boys get a feel of it. We've been under a bit of pressure. They've knocked some good balls into the box. Just let us, get our breath back and
some sort of rhythm. Zelic, Slater, who's been running all over the pitch today. A long searching ball, too deep for Arnold. It does well to get it back. Van Vleug comes in with Halligan. For Riley, and the ball was too strong for Ironside.
Yeah, that was a great opportunity for New Zealand then. The pass was overhit, and if it had been a bit less weight on the ball, Australia would have been in trouble there. But even so, I think we showed a lot more patience that last build-up, and we got a better position in the front third as a result of it.
Tobin's got Zelic free on that right. Tarakovic right on that sideline. And Ironside with a bit of a nudge. That's the ruling. Robbie Ironside knows a lot about the Australian football scene. Having played just on about 151 games, I think, for Sydney Olympic and the Coca-Cola Soccer League. The advantage, of course, for those Kiwis that are based in Australia, very evident in this game here today. Easy clearance for Ironside. The wrong side, away by Redenton. Ironside. And Dunford on. Billy Wright. A real character. And you remember that Billy Wright scored the second goal here in that 2-0 victory for New Zealand in '89. Tobin, he was on the bench that day. Longo, now Jurakovic. Cut out by Halligan. Long ball for De Jong. He's certainly been a handful today, Fred de Jong. Much better player for the experience in Europe.
He seems to be using his body very well today, Andy. Australian viewers would have seen Fred since his days at Marconi, and he definitely looks a lot sharper.
Away by Longo, Milosevic, Slater. I'd be surprised if Slater takes on Evans. Ball too strong.
That was better, Andy. Robbie Slater getting out into the open field one-on-one with the defender and using the width of the park. That's when the New Zealand defenders look uncomfortable. As long as the ball's coming to them, in front of them and in the air, they seem very relaxed, and they want to play the game that way, but that's what we've got to keep doing.
That was Wade. See it, and he was pushed in the back by the captain, Malcolm Dunford. Milosevic, the free kick man. Not too many men up there for Australia at the moment as Wade comes through the centre. Away by Evans. Now Vietz. And a corner kick. Good start to the second half for Australia. They've maintained possession for lengthy periods.
Seem to have regained their composure a bit, Andy. I think that's what they've got to do. Just take their time, be patient. We've got to remember this is our away game, so we can slow the game down a little bit and give the boys a bit more time to get the feel of the ball, because when it's always up in the air, you can't get the feel of it.
And Gosling, the chance in there, and it deflected off Wade and out of play. Or yes, it is a goal kick, but that could have gone anywhere.
Yes, it was one of those goal-mouth scrambles where any sort of deflection and it could have gone in the back of the net.
Wade. It was a good challenge from Arnold, because Gosling would have been certainly uncomfortable there.
I think it was Redenton actually who, in his attempt to clear it, drove it into Paul Wade and nearly ricocheted back into the net. This is better. Australia maintaining possession, trying to commit the New Zealand side to opening up a little bit. Ball by Zelic, cut out by Wright. Jurakovic, yes, and Wright had taken Jurakovic out. I really can't see why Billy be complaining about that one. No, he definitely caught Mehmet there.
Ball was rolling, the referee again. Wants it taken. Milosevic, this time Longo, Arnold, Viet, Wade, and now Tobin at the back post. Driven in low, Wade in there. And de Jong kills off a bit of time, and McGarry comes in on Zelic rather. I bet Zelic has certainly been on the receiving end of some stiff challenges today.
Yes, although I think you could just about name every Australian, and New Zealand is definitely not holding back in their tackling, but neither should they. I mean, it's working well for them so far.
Wade back now for Tobin. Zelic has got Van Blurk. Slater's making a bit of a run, and so is Viet. And McGarry holding back. And quite a few committed challenges, you could say, and still no bookings at all.
Yeah, I think it's been a competitive and a lot of strong tackles, but nothing really
over the top.
No, it hasn't been a dirty game at all.
It was rather stilted in the first half.
There appears to be a bit more flow to the game now. Australia holding the ball a lot more.
Slater. Zelic. And Zelic has felt the effects of that challenge. He's back on his feet though. Halligan Can't get past Wade.
Yes, it was a crunching tackle. Ned appeared to be trying to shoot there, but the block tackle by the New Zealander was always going to win the ball, and I think Ned went in quite hard there. I think he's lucky he hasn't done more damage to himself there. But it's looking better for Australia at the moment. We seem to have pinned them back a little bit. We're knocking the ball around more, which is always a good sign. When players start wanting the ball more, that's always a sign that the confidence is growing. And whenever Ned gets involved in the attacking moves, it's always a good sign for Australia too.
Well, it doesn't look too bad for Viet at the moment. The ball inside, goal! Graham Arnold! Carl Viet, the provider, and Graham Arnold, the executioner. He's such a deadly player, Graham Arnold. His 16th goal at international level in his 41st appearance, and such a crucial one at that.
Great run from Carl Viet. He's looked like a couple of times he's going to get past a few players because of those jinking runs, and that's a great ball across the box. Graham Arnold stretching and putting it away.
The direct running in Carl Viet was always going to be a handful here. And how about that for a finish from Arnold?
Great finish from Graham Arnold. It wasn't an easy ball. It was coming with pace. He had to stretch with the outside of the foot. Great breakthrough for Australia.
Arnold had come here. He'd scored 16 goals for Liège. He started the season in a midfield role, was pushed up as a striker towards the end of the season. He's really made a name for himself in Europe. Firstly at Roda in Holland. And estimates at his value around the $800,000 to $1 million mark, and that goal was surely worth quite a few $100,000 for Australia. Away from home, they're up by 1-0. It's a different Australia in the second half, and I'd hate to think what Eddie Thompson had to say during the break in that dressing room. Not a place for the faint-hearted.
Definitely, Australia's come out. They've knocked the ball around more. Like we said, Ned Zelic getting involved more, and Carl Viet with his direct running at the centre of the defence is causing problems for New Zealand. And Graham Arnold, a great ability to get goals and work rate, and he deserves that goal.
The Van Blerk corner. He's looking for Tobin at the near post. Van Blerk again. Milosevic with a touch on. And now the danger of the Kiwi counter. Milosevic and Wright. Well, it looked like Milosevic was pushed right out of play. And the flag's up either way. For offside, it looks like against McGarry. And Branko's the sort of player that will laugh off, as you can see. Billy Wright really spurred up for this game.
Yeah, Australia has to be careful now, Andy. They've got that goal. Could be a vital away goal, and just got to calm it down and keep playing the way we're playing, not get too excited. We've done the hard bit, and that's breaking through. Now we have to consolidate. Now it's going to be up to the New Zealanders to really come out and could open the game up a bit.
I sensed a bit of excitement in your voice there when Arnold stuck it away.
Yeah, I mean it was a great moment for Australia. I mean it's been a tense first. I'm not sure an hour of the game maybe, and we were looking for that sort of breakthrough to just to ease the pressure a bit.
Graham was saying before the game that despite having so many overseas-based players together, all the European teams have to go through the same routine when they play World Cup qualifiers, and Australia just has to get used to that. That's the new phase of their international football now.
I think that's happening, yeah, like Graham Arnold said, to a lot of national teams around the world. I think there's very few that would have all the national team members playing in the country itself. We have the additional problem with the distances that have to be travelled, which is obviously a disadvantage. But yeah, I think that's the way world football's going these days. I think some of the African countries are going to be having a few problems in that regard as well. Well,
at the moment, the referee just checking
This is a good little stoppage here for Australia. It's just taken the pace out of the game a little bit. Got the goal up and can just get our composure again.
A good sign for New Zealand. Billy Wright on his feet. Van Blurk. Zelic. And that's been the difference, I think, in the second half. Zelic has taken on more possession from the back, and he's been very effective in that role. Viet. What about this from Carl Viet? And he was hoping maybe Arnold at the back post. Carl Viet, we know that Farina is such a big player in the scope of things for the Socceroos, but Carl Viet never stops.
No, Carl Viet's got a great ability to wriggle through in tight areas like he just did then and like he did when Australia scored the goal, and that's causing New Zealand problems. His ability to beat his man in a close area is going to be a big handful for the New Zealanders.
Van Blurk went up with Redetton. And that appears to have gone against Van Blurk. Yes, it has. That's what the referee signalled. New Zealand, they've only lost one World Cup qualifier on home soil. This is their 16th match. And yes, well spotted again by the referee, the Swedish referee, Bo Carlson.
Yes, New Zealand went out hard early and they pressured all around the park early on, and they got forward quite a lot. They did a lot of running, especially people like Billy Wright and Mike McGarry, and just wondering whether they're going to, still have some energy left in the tank to try and get back into this match.
And of course, during the week they were affected by a virus. Stanley Halligan had spread amongst the team. Thursday's training session, they only had 11 fit players to call upon.
And the physical nature of the game itself is also going to be taking it out of the legs, Andy, so it'll be interesting to see as the game wears on.
Carl Viet and Arnold have combined, well, in fact Viet's been combining extremely well with all the players out there.
Yes, Carl Viet's added, I think, a little bit of unpredictability to the forward line.
But he's not afraid to take one or two or three perhaps on. And,
yes, he draws defenders to him, and that opens up gaps. Because his ability to get past the first man means that people have to come and cover, and that opens spaces for other people. Graham Arnold's goal was an example. He was left by himself at the far post as players converged into the area where Carl Viet was.
20 minutes into this second half, Australia, the Socceroos are up by 1-0. A goal from Graham Arnold.
Keep going!
Zelic. They're all onside. Redetton back to his keeper. This is the other danger for New Zealand if they try to get numbers forward and try to search, which they obviously will for this equalising goal, that they'll leave some gaps up at the back of their defence.
Yes, that could work to Australia's advantage as well. That was one of the problems early on, was that they were happy to just sit in there and try to attack us on the break. But now they're a goal behind. They're the ones who are going to really have to take the game to Australia. And with players like Viet and Slater, very quick players, we could catch them out.
The acceleration from Slater, magnificent there. And a solid challenge, the shoulder check. Billy Wright right on his back, and that was dangerous play from Wright.
Again, Andy, that was the studs showing.
Exactly.
They're red hot in Europe with that, so you just can't get away with that.
And there is, in fact, the first booking of the game.
That wouldn't surprise me if Billy Wright's had a few words to say there, so well renowned for that sort of thing back in Australia.
In a game against Kuwait, Billy, in fact, from memory, was sent off in one of their preparation games.
Yeah, he doesn't mind voicing his opinion about the referee's decisions. Obviously, he went a bit far that time.
He'll have to restrain himself now.
I think he'd be better spent putting his energies into trying to find a goal than complaining to the referee at this stage.
Runs away now, De Jong. Redenton rather now inside to De Jong. In went Tobin. And Alex Tobin didn't really like that challenge from Fred, and he told him so. Now Viet. Look at this, Viet turns them right around. Carl Viet. There's no support there at the moment. And he's won the corner.
Yeah, well played again, Carl Beard. He's causing him all sorts of problems. Jason Pollock appears to be warming up too at the moment, so could be a change coming.
Maybe Milosevic, perhaps. Branko finished the season with some injury problems for Sydney Olympic. In the last 3 games, he had to come off. I think he only played 2 full games in the last 8 or 9 rounds of the competition.
Plus the fact that they were out of the competition a long time before the grand final, so competitive soccer.
And that was pretty competitive as well. Paul Wade at the near post.
The Australians' confidence seems to be right up at the moment, Andy. I think that goal's done wonders. You just see Paul Wade's face there. He's full of, he looks full of running still, which is a good sign.
Well, the captain has bitter memories of '89. P and Arnold, the sole survivors that started this match. Of course, we mentioned that Robbie Slater and Alex Tobin were on the bench that day. Slater looking for Arnold. He's onside, but just the direction. He had to really just go on impulse more than anything.
The gaps are definitely starting to open up now in the New Zealand backline.
You'd have to say the danger now for New Zealand is whether they might concede a second.
Yeah, it appears like New Zealand's going to make a change.
Alan Evans is the man stripping down. Down goes Viet. And these stop-starts will suit Australia more than New Zealand. Jurakovic for Slater. The touch by Wade. Cut out by Ironside. Jurakovic in there. And cleared away by Evans. And this time it's Zelic. He's got De Jong on his back. McGarry finds his man in Redenton. Good run through the middle by McGarry. It was a great header by Arnold. He came back to help his defence. Slater got 2 New Zealand players around him. There's more urgency in this play from Australia now. Zelic. And a change will be made.
It's going to be a double change, I think, Andy. Both teams making a change.
Well, the captain's coming off. And it is Milosevic.
Number 21, Jason Pollock, is going on replacing number 20.
And Jason made his debut in the last World Cup campaign against Fiji. So the New Zealand captain out of the game.
Yeah, a surprising substitution there. He must be carrying an injury there, Andy, you'd assume. Because the boy who's come on has gone straight into the back line as well, so it doesn't look like it's been a tactical move.
Slater and Ironside comes over, but there's free player in Longo. Slater's so different now, isn't he? On the ball, he's got a better touch. Naturally, the experience at Lens in France.
Yeah, he seems to be a more complete player now, Andy. He, in his days with Sydney Croatia, he was mainly on that right wing and up and down in straight lines. Very effective, nonetheless, but now he seems to play more all over the park and have a different range to his game.
During the preparations, the camps in Melbourne and here, how has it been with the overseas players adjusting in with the locally based Socceroos?
I think it's been good for both types of players. The overseas boys have enjoyed being back in Australia and mixing with the boys, There's another yellow card there, Andy.
De Jong handball. Fred De Jong.
It appeared to be, might have even been an elbow there, Andy.
Was it?
I'm not sure.
I saw the hands go up.
And the local boys, obviously it's great to get together with these overseas-based players, and there's swap stories. It's great to hear that how they're going and what they do and what their routines like, the training and everything really. And
a much more professional feeling about the Socceroo camp now.
Definitely. It's also interesting to see the players when you remember them from what they were like before, and then see the areas where they've improved.
Van Blerk still there. With perseverance. Nicely done. Slater inside. Now the chance. And the goal, no! Well, he really deserved it there. The keeper to beat.
Yes.
And you would have put your money on Viet.
He deserved the goal there. Great work from Jason Van Blerk. And the layoff for Robbie Slater, tremendous ball across the box. A great first touch from Carl Beard as well. He set it up perfectly for himself, and I thought it was in the net, Andy, myself.
Too much power instead of direction.
From our angle, it looked like it was just about to hit the net, but it's just curved away at the last second. He'll be disappointed with that, Carl.
But either way, the build-up was extreme.
A great move by Australia. Great first touch from Carl Beard. Possibly could have taken a bit of power off the shot. But the gaps are starting to open up, definitely. We're finding a lot more room on the flanks. The confidence seems to have gone up a gear as well.
Jurakovic, that was very, very committed run. He's picked up his tempo a little bit as well. Zelic. So cool on the ball. Wade.
See, in the first half, there was the space that they're getting in midfield now was just never there.
Viet, he's onside. Oh, Viet's overrun it.
Another good move by Australia. Paul Wade playing the ball in behind the defence, getting them turning. Carl Viet's quick off the mark. Unfortunately, his first touch there was a little too far in front of him. But again, we saw the space opening up in midfield, and the confidence level is up, and the Australians are looking good.
Well, if Viet had been able to put that one away, that would have been the ball game. There's 15 minutes of normal time left in this match. Australia are leading by 1-0. Courtesy of Graham Arnold.
I mean, really, with a couple of chances there, virtually the whole tie could have been almost over. I mean,
2 goals away from home.
Would have been a big ask for New Zealand, but at the moment they're only a goal down, and there's still time left. I mean, Australia can't afford to get complacent.
Viet and Evans, and up was Riddington. Here comes Arnold. There's some support inside. Polak, Wade's with him. Slater's coming across. Van Blerk. And that's one of the noticeable aspects of Australia's play. Van Blerk's been able to push forward much more in the second half. Wade.
Yes, we're stretching them a lot wider, Andy, which is meaning that they can't congest it in the midfield, and therefore we're getting a space and time to get a couple of touches on the ball when we get it, whereas in the first half it was so tight that challenges were coming in left, right and centre, and the ball was in dispute. If we keep stretching them wide, then the gaps keep opening up.
Offside up against Billy Wright, and again the referee having a few words.
Yeah, I think he's getting a bit sick and tired of Billy Wright. We were warned about that before the game, actually. Eddie Thompson made a point of saying that the referee doesn't stand for back chat, so he warned the players about it. So I'm not sure whether the New Zealand coach did the same, but maybe he should have.
And the flag was up for offside. The referee just spotted it now. If Viet had stuck it away, it wouldn't have made a difference. But just on his performance, he really deserved that goal earlier.
Hey, it would have been nice to see him get the goal there. I mean, he set up the first goal brilliantly, and he's causing him trouble every time he goes near the ball at the moment, Carl Viet. I don't think the Kiwi defenders are too happy with him running at them.
His performances remind me of the way Graham Arnold, when he started his Socceroo career in '84 against Red Star Belgrade. He scored quite a few goals early on, and of course Viet with 4 out of 6, and it would have been 5 out of 7. Although at the moment, Tobin had slipped, De Jong had gone down, Ironside still in there, McGarry and Van Blurk. No way that was a penalty. They're claiming that it was.
No, definitely not a penalty. Possibly could have been a free kick earlier on when Alex Tobin went down. I think he might have dragged the New Zealand player down, but
just there, he clipped De Jong.
Yeah, but
free kick should have been.
But Van Blurk played it well there. Definitely no foul there.
Gary tried to get around Van Blurk. There was no doubts about that one. Well, it's a red card. While all that's been going on, Fred de Jong has been sent off. We were watching the replay then. There must have been some word said. The red card.
I think he possibly disappointed with the decision that we commented on with Alex Tobin. Didn't go his way. And he had a yellow card earlier on.
His second offence. He was booked just 6 minutes ago.
Well, that's a big blow for New Zealand, not only in this game, but I'd say that would rule him out for the return leg as well, Andy. And in the first half, Fred de Jong was causing Australia a lot of problems with his height and his mobility up front, so that's a big blow for New Zealand.
We saw the gaps open up in the second half, and they're certainly going to be even more exposed now that they're down to 10 men. And there's 11 minutes left in the game. Australia can sit back now and hit them on the break. They don't have to take any risks. The extra man is going to make such a difference. Australia have got a lot of speed. The flanks have been working well. The running from the likes of Viet, Slater, Van Blurk has been very effective. The Socceroos. The hopes and the dreams of a nation behind them to qualify for the World Cup finals of '94 in the United States. Still a long way to go before that. But they've hit the right note in the second half in particular. As Arnold slipped the ball for Viet. He'll have the legs on Halligan. Viet, he turns the keeper. Viet, Halligan's come back. Evans is there. He drills it straight into Halligan. And cleared away by Riley. And Viet really deserves a goal on the performance we've seen from him today.
Tremendous work again by Graham Arnold there, Andy. He won the ball in his own half of the field, set Carl Viet free. New Zealand were pushing forward.
Maybe he should have gone for it first time there.
Yeah, he was a little unlucky. He took it past the keeper, did well, but the ball, by the time he caught up with it, a player had got back. And I think then the indecision came in his mind whether to hit it first time or to have a couple of touches. And in the end, they just swamped him on the goal line. But again, Australia catching New Zealand out. I mean, they're down to 10 men. They have to push forward looking for a goal. But Australia really have to put these chances away, Andy. I mean, 1-0 is not enough over a two-leg series. I mean, this may not even be enough for this particular game. And we've had two great chances to increase the lead. And I just hope Australia doesn't pay for those missed chances.
The Coca-Cola Socceroos are leading. It should have really been at least 2. But like we said, there's still a bit left in this game.
And we know the New Zealanders will play it to the 90th minute and further. They're not the sort of team that's going to give up.
Slater was clipped late. And the ball, yeah, Selic, that's intelligent. Just slow it down.
Yeah, there's no need for Australia to rush at this stage, Andy.
I think the strikers are now getting a bit more hungrier for those goals.
Yeah, that's the thing that happens sometimes. The more the gaps open up towards the end, the strikers want the ball more, but that's the time when the boys at the back just have to slow it down a bit, so it becomes a catch-22 sometimes.
Ian Marshall, New Zealand coach. Who'd want to be a coach? Eddie Thompson was asked at the press conference here 2 days ago whether this was the biggest game of his coaching career, and Eddie's simple response was every coach's game, the next game is their biggest game. This is so crucial to not only his career, but the Socceroos. Wade. Van Blurk. That's Wade there, rather. Polak's making the run now. His ball inside. He's headed away by Kerry Evans.
Australia are knocking the ball around really well at the moment, Andy. They're using the flanks a lot more, getting the fullbacks involved. I mean, Jason Van Blurk's getting involved a lot more. And that's important for Australia because once we get the gaps on the wings, then the ball into the middle, and then we're looking really dangerous.
Jurakovic's throw for Arnold, away by Ironside. Polak with a touch. Wade. Jurakovic. The South Melbourne combination working. Ironside. Wade was claiming a corner, but it did take a touch off him and rolled out for the goal kick. Against New Zealand now. There's 7 minutes of normal time left.
There's only 7 minutes left. 7 minutes for them to conjure something up, but they'd be counting themselves very lucky. They're not 3 goals behind at this stage, so they can't really complain, New Zealand.
Notice in the last 5 or so minutes, Graham Arnold has come back to act as an extra defender, particularly in the air. That's worked extremely well. Polak.
Yeah, it's a facet of Graham Arnold's game he's been well renowned for in the past. That's his help in the defensive area. He works very hard, does a lot of running, especially late in the game. He goes back and helps out the midfield. And I think with Carl Viet causing havoc in the forward line, that's working well.
There'll be a change as soon as the ball goes out. Vaughan Coveney will be coming on. McGarry will be going off.
Yes, I think New Zealand had to do something. There's only 5-6 minutes left, and they really need a goal, Andy, don't they?
And that'll happen now. Vaughan Coveney, that's an amazing recovery as well. He broke his arm in Singapore when they played against Saudi Arabia. McGarry goes off. Vaughan Coveney, the Melbourne CSC striker, comes on.
Yes, when the Socceroos were in Singapore, we heard that news that Vaughan Coveney had broken his arm, and we all thought that would have ruled him out virtually of these games, but obviously he's got a good doctor. And
Slater and Gosling. Slater's there. Now Van Blurk and Riddington. But again, the explosive speed of Slater.
Yes, the Australians really putting the Kiwis under pressure at the moment. They want to mount some sort of challenge towards the end, but they just can't seem to, because Australia's putting them under so much pressure at the other end. They're forced to defend when they really want to be attacking.
Great skills from Polak. Riley and then Jurakovic. Riley's got Alan Evans. And the run from Coveney. Ned Zelic, the youngest man on the field, 21 years of age. Hard to believe when you think of...
Youngest man on the field, but very, very experienced in a short space of time, Andy. He's played in a number of big games for the Socceroos, the Olyroos, and now in Germany. So I think Ned won't be feeling the pressure too much. He'll be enjoying it, I'd say.
No foul! Leave him! Get out!
Coveney. And there's just 2 New Zealanders in that box and plenty of Socceroos. The flag stays down. Bosnich comes, and that's the first real save he's had to make. It was a good, brave one. He was quick off his line. And he actually acts as an extra sweeper, doesn't he? When he's keeping there, he's never one to be sitting on his line.
No, he likes to play that sweeping role. I think playing in England like he does, they play a lot of long balls over the top, and so he's quite used to the ball coming over the back 4 and him having to clean it up. And he talks very well too, Mark Bosnich, from the back, so he's like a sweeper in that regard as well.
Well, there's just got about 3 minutes of normal time left. A goal here for Australia would put them in such a position going to the second match at Olympic Park in Melbourne next week.
I think if the game stays the way it does, although Australia will be happy with the result, obviously, an away win, thinking of the 2 golden chances that came after the first goal, would be a little disappointed not to have taken a virtually unassailable lead into the second leg.
Fully right doesn't appear to be 10 metres at the moment. In it comes from Van Blurk. And again, they've stolen the corner, which they have done on so many occasions in the second half.
Yeah, the problem for New Zealand at the moment is that at this stage of the game, when they really need to be mounting a last-ditch sort of effort to score, the fact that they're down to 10 men and the Australians are knocking the ball around so well means that they're forced to defend it, and they can't really get forward.
The player of the match, as awarded by the media here, Robbie Slater. He wins 2 return tickets to Argentina, care of Aerolíneas Argentinas.
That's a nice prize, Andy.
That's not a bad prize.
I'm not sure when he's going to be able to fit that in.
I don't think he'll be able to.
He seems to be a pretty busy man.
Because he'll be going straight into camp. A couple of the Socceroos, I think, will be missing for the AC Milan games because of European commitments.
That's the one thing that was sort of we were made aware of, was just how soon all the players had to be back for pre-season at their clubs. It's incredible. They get a very minimal break, 5-6 weeks at the most, really. And when you think of how many games they play, it's not a long break. Most of the players having to be back at their clubs towards the end of June, early July. So it's going to come up before you know it.
The job at hand is to overcome New Zealand. And Blurk's not on. And away by Alan Evans.
This is playing into Australia's hands at the moment. This is probably what they'd want at this stage of the game. Just the ball out of play a lot, stoppages, just killing time, really.
There's 30 seconds of normal time left. Slater, judge the man of the match. Polak on for Viet. The chase with Ironside. And he hasn't stopped, has he, Carl Viet? He's won a throw in there. He won a corner a couple of minutes ago. He set up the goal. Admittedly, as you've touched on a couple of times, he perhaps should have had at least 1, if not 2.
But no, he's come on as a substitute for Frank Farina, and he's really taken the game by storm. He started off a little quiet, which obviously coming on as a sub that tends to happen. But second half, he's just taken them to the cleaners down that right-hand side several times.
There was some talk about David Mitchell, and David Mitchell couldn't be assured of a first 11 position, and Eddie Thompson opted for Carl Viet. That's certainly been a deft selection.
Yeah, well, if it stays the way it is at the moment, Andy, I think Eddie Thompson will be very pleased with Carl Viet's performance, barring maybe the couple of good chances that he's missed, which...
Well, the second half has been a very, very good performance from all the players out there.
I think initially Australia was always... There's the final whistle, Andy.
Yes, it was really a game of contrasting halves. Eddie Thompson will be a relieved man. There's no doubts about that. Australia walk away here from Mount Smart Stadium with a 1-0 result. And Arnold, the scorer, that was just absolutely perfect finishing.
I think Australia, when they look back on it, they might be a bit disappointed that they didn't capitalise, because really in the second half, I mean, it was expected early on it was going to be hard. New Zealand were always going to be very competitive early on and playing hard, 100 miles an hour of the game. And we kept our composure. In the second half, we really got on top, and I think there'll be a slight bit of disappointment that we didn't capitalise on those 2 great chances, because that, to me, Andy, would have virtually sealed the whole 2-leg series.
Either way, it's a victory for the Socceroos. Graham Arnold, you can see there. Congratulations from Les Scheinflug. The Socceroos march off Mount Smart. Thanks a lot, Paul. It's been Great to have you with us.
Yeah, it's been fun, Andy. I mean, it's a bit different watching it from here, but hopefully next time you'll be commenting on me.
All the best, Paul. And let's cross now to Kyle Patterson, who's with, I would think, a relieved Australian coach, Eddie Thompson.
Australia's Cup Survival.